Hello learners, welcome back to the course on AI in Human Resource Management. We move to the last module where we'll be looking into one of the most critical aspect when you look into human resource management, which is culture. Many a time we see that there are individuals who complain that I left that organization because of the culture in that organization, or the organization culture was not conducive for my development, for my improvement, or for my learning purpose. So many a time we see that culture comes as a barrier, as a factor which actually stops you from growing. So let's understand company culture. In this particular module, specifically this lecture, we'll look into what is company culture, what exactly are the different aspects which make company culture, what are the different strategies whereby you can enhance the company culture, and we'll look into the measuring of company culture. Many a time, what we cannot measure, we cannot rectify. So, if there are some lacking, if there are some problem, we look into those tools, those specific aspects which are used to measure company culture and how AI is playing a critical role in those critical aspects. We'll have some real-time understanding with respect to some softwares, with respect to some AI platforms which are actually used to enhance the company culture. So that is a specific reason why I've divided this particular lecture into two parts. So the part one will be more into the culture, the strategy, specifically the measurement part, and real-time case studies will follow in part two. I'm Dr. Abraham Sirlaisek. I'm an assistant professor at the School of Business, Indian Institute of Technology, Guwahati. Now, when you talk about specifically HR and company culture, we'll see that many a time there are a couple of people surrounded by you in an organization. Either they help you to grow or they will curtail your growth. So either ways they are significant and you cannot actually discount them. You cannot actually be indifferent to them. In that particular scenario, company culture is relevant because it has or it plays a significant vital role in your development throughout your career within the organization. Let's look into company culture in more detailed fashion. When you talk about culture, company culture specifically encompasses an organization's values, beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors. While intangible, it is most clearly expressed through employees' actions. So, I'm not going into the detailed definitions of values, beliefs, and attitudes. Specifically, if you want a clear understanding and the distinction between them, I would definitely suggest you to go through my organizational behavior course in the NPTEL SWAYAM platform. But that said, when you look into company culture, we have an amalgamation of all these positive aspects, all these aspects typically. It might be positive, which I pray for, but otherwise there are situations where these are negative also. So when you are looking into company culture, it is embedded in every company process. It is significantly impacting the accomplishment of strategic objectives. So you look into a company, employees who align with and embody the company's desired culture tend to be more productive and tend to be more loyal. And also you'll see that maintaining a culture that aligns with the organization's mission leads to a stronger business or business outcome in general. When you look into company culture in a more closer fashion, you will understand that company culture plays a crucial role in organizations' goal to achieve competitive advantage. And in order to attain this particular competitive advantage, an organization has to make sure to have strong foundations in company culture that nourishes employee engagement. So a culture, please note, not aligned with the company goals and strategies hinder growth and negatively affects the overall performance. So unlike strategy and business processes, company culture is unique and cannot be copied. So this uniqueness is what establishes company culture in a typical way and the significance of that. When you look into strong culture, it motivates employees, and without it, please note, good processes won't lead to results. So a strong culture leads to more loyal, satisfied employees, further reinforcing the importance of the culture. So, company culture strongly influences profitability, affecting not just the results but also how they are typically achieved. So, when you are looking into the success of an organization, many a time the measure boils down to top line or the bottom line of the company, and company culture plays a inevitable role in terms of the profitability in organization. So sustaining and improving company culture is a continuous effort that should never stop. So this particularly underscores the relevance of company culture. Now when you look into the effects and challenges of company culture, you see that there are certain misconceptions about company culture, because I'm trying to establish a clear understanding about what exactly do you mean by company culture, and there are unfortunately certain misconceptions which will try to change here. So many organizations mistakenly believe company culture is invisible to customers. However, if you look into culture, it is evident in customer interactions. So how organization interacts with its clients, it's typically reflected there. Or you look into the impact on business success. Company culture influences all business areas and affects overall success. So a poor company culture is a major reason for organizational failure, leading customers to switch to competitors. And you look into the effects and challenges of company culture, we have to also see that employee resistance to culture actually becomes significant. One of the biggest challenges, in fact, in creating a desired culture is the employee resistance. So changing culture requires altering underlying beliefs and values, which can typically cause resistance. So resistance typically highlights the depth of change in the culture that is required. Now, also, there are certain adjustment procedures. What do you mean by this? Resistance is something which we have seen previously. Resistance is often fueled by outdated procedures that don't align with the desired culture. So, for successful cultural change, all procedures must be updated to reflect the new culture while leveraging the existing strengths. We also see that leadership is critical in terms of the effects and challenges of company culture, specifically the role of leadership in culture. Despite proven links between culture and organizational success in research, leadership often hesitates to take responsibility, and that's very, very unfortunate for culture development. So, top management must prioritize culture as part of the business strategies. Also, there are some consequences of leadership neglect. Lack of leadership support can lead to a counterproductive culture that hinders strategy and long-term goals. So this is significant as company or employees within the company recognize the importance of culture for the organizational success. We also see that when you look into the effects and challenges of the company culture, there could be significant impact on the employee morale and productivity. When you are looking into leadership, when leadership typically drives culture, it boosts employee morale, productivity, and job satisfaction, leading to better organizational outcomes. And finally, we also do have the link between culture and employee performance. Company culture has a strong influence on employee performance and success. So employees modify their personal views to align with company norms, company values, and more they embody the culture, please note, the more successful they become. So this typical behavior drives organizational improvement. Now let's quickly look into the role of human resource in company culture. What does HRM do in terms of the company culture? We'll try to underscore the critical relationship between HR and the company. HR plays a crucial role. There is no undermining the fact, there is no denying the fact that HR plays a crucial role in communicating the company's culture to all stakeholders, including both management and employees. So this particular aspect of all the stakeholders is vital, ensuring that the values and the norms of the organization are consistently conveyed and upheld. From the very first interaction, let's say, an employee has with the organization, whether let it be through recruitment or onboarding, HR ensures that the company's culture is embedded. So this typical continuity helps in aligning employees with the organization's vision and mission right from their entry into the company. In addition, if you see, to embedding culture from the start, HR is responsible for keeping that culture alive within the organization. So this could involve, protecting the core values. This could involve, recognizing and rewarding behaviors that reflect those typical values, or sometimes, the daily reinforcement of typical company culture is essential, which also has a certain factor. So this is what you have to understand with respect to the company culture and typically the critical relationship between HR and company culture. We also see that there are possibilities with respect to HR taking responsibility of nurturing the culture. So when you are looking into nurturing culture, it has to have a serious effect and intervene whenever necessary to preserve it, ensuring that it remains a living, evolving part of the organization that typically, adapts but stays typically true to its core values. When you look into the role of HR in company's culture, we also see that HR's influence or company culture extends beyond just communications and behaviors to the procedures and policies actually governing the particular organization. So as HR is involved in creating and managing key policies, it has a significant role in shaping the culture both formally and informally. So you see that there are some formal influence culture being embedded in documents like handbooks. There are some informal influence also where HR shapes company culture through influence on the behavior part. So formally we see that there is some inclusion. Informally also there are certain role that HR plays. So every decision and every action taken by HR, whether in recruitment or let it be in conflict resolution or maybe in, let's say, policy enforcement, it either strengthens or undermines the company cultural or company cultural values. So basically you see how important every decision and every action taken by the human resource management is. So when creating organizational strategies also, you look into the factor that HR must ensure that the company culture is taken into account to avoid clashes between the culture and the company's strategic direction. I have many a time tried to underscore the importance of strategic alignment, a critical aspect where the organizational objectives are in sync with the individual goals or individual aspirations or goals. So this proactive alignment helps prevent potential conflicts that may arise when company strategies actually diverge, or there is a certain level of divergence or anomaly with respect to the company culture. We also see the role in employee engagement quickly. A key area where HR drives company culture is through employee engagement initiatives. There is no doubt about it. These initiatives are designed to enhance the overall employee experience and ensure that the employees feel connected to the company's values and mission. So when you talk about the HR's role in creating and maintaining engagement, it is crucial for achieving the desired organizational results. So engagement initiatives typically help foster a strong culture. And we see that this will ensure that employees feel valued, employees feel supported and aligned with the company's goals. We also see that HR can implement engagement programs. It could be something like a recognition system or let's say wellness programs or continuous feedback loops, if you ask me, all of which contribute to reinforcing the desired company culture. So by focusing on engagement, HR helps create a positive work environment, period. So when you're looking into such a positive work environment where employees are motivated to contribute to the company's success. So when you totally see an organization has a positive work environment, this in turn strengthens the organizational culture, as engaged employees are more likely to embody and promote the core values of the organization. So, HR's efforts in this regard are essential for driving both culture development and overall organizational performance. Now, let's look into HR as a mediator between leadership and employees. Very quickly, if you see, HR plays a vital role in connecting leadership and employees when it comes to cultivating and sustaining company culture. While leadership sets the tone for culture, as we have seen in our previous discussion, it's HR's responsibility to mediate and facilitate the development of that culture across all levels of the organization. So typically, HR supports leaders by gathering feedback from employees and identify potential risk that could undermine the desired culture. By serving as a bridge, HR ensures that leadership is aware of employee perspectives and can adjust their approach to cultural development as and when required. So, HR's ability, let's say, to gather feedback, this becomes vital for ensuring that the culture reflects the values and beliefs of all stakeholders, not just the top management. So, believe me, this feedback allows HR to steer the cultural development process in a way that is inclusive, that is representative of the broader workforce. So, HR can also provide insights into potential cultural misalignments also, and can help leadership navigate any challenges that arise during cultural transformation. So by doing so, HR plays a key role in ensuring that the development of the organization culture is not only strategic but also sustainable. Now let's look into the ownership of cultural change. When we look into the ownership part, please note, one of the most challenging aspects of company culture is implementing company culture or implementing cultural change or to embrace the change in the culture. So, changing the company culture means fundamentally altering the organization's beliefs, norms, and behaviors, which impacts every aspect of the business. So, even if we say this particular process is often incorrectly viewed as, let's say, if you ask me, as the sole responsibility of HR. And please note, it is not. For cultural change to be successful, all participants in the organizations must take ownership of the process. While HR plays a supporting role, guiding and facilitating the change, it is crucial that the leadership and the employees actively participate in shaping and driving this particular transformation. So, HR's role in cultural change is to provide the tools and framework for successful implementation, but leadership must take charge of championing the particular change which we are talking about. So this typically includes, making sure that necessary resources and support systems are in place to ensure that this particular transition is smooth and effective. When you look into the HR guidance, HR can teach leaders how to navigate cultural change, helping them understand the complexities involved and how to lead by example. Successful cultural change requires cooperation, ownership, and commitment from all levels of the organization, with HR playing a pivotal role in guiding the process and ensuring that the change is aligned with the company's long-term goals and values, a point which I am trying to reinstate in every single module. So by fostering collaboration between the leadership and the employees, and by offering support and insights throughout the process, HR helps to ensure that cultural change is not only successful but also sustainable in the long run. Now let's quickly look into the strategies for enhancing company culture. When you look into the strategy aspect, creating and maintaining a positive company culture is vital for employee engagement, as we have already established. It is critical for productivity. It is as important for retention as well. So When we look into the strategies, there could be several strategies. Again, I'm not able to provide, or please do not consider this as an exhaustive list, but most of the typical strategies we have listed down here. One is establish core values. Clearly defining and communicating the core values is fundamental. There is no doubt about it. These values typically should reflect the organization's beliefs and guide behavior at all levels. So HR should ensure that these values are integrated into every aspect of the organization, from hiring practices to performance evaluations, to create a unified culture that resonates with all employees. There could be also typical aspect, or attempt to promote transparency, encouraging open communication between the management and employees, foster trust and engagement. So organizations can implement regular updates through newsletters, or let's say maybe town hall meetings to share important information, or they could also solicit feedback and discuss company goals. So this particularly enhances the transparency and helps employees feel valued and informed about the organization's direction. We also see that there could be specific concern with respect to fostering inclusivity and diversity. Creating an inclusive environment where diverse perspectives are welcomed is crucial for a positive culture. Companies should actively recruit from a variety of backgrounds, there is no denying the fact, and implement training programs that promote understanding and respect among employees. So establishing diversity committees can also help drive the initiatives that celebrate differences and ensure equitable practices. There could be also implementation of recognition programs. When you look into recognizing the employee achievements, it is vital. It is vital for morale, for motivation. So organizations can create formal recognition programs that celebrate both individual and team success. So timely recognition not only reinforces desired behaviors, but also typically encourages a culture of appreciation where employees feel valued for their contributions. There can be also typical aspects concerning, social interaction, encouraging social interaction. Planning social outings, or let's say team building activities or initiatives. They allow employees to connect outside of the work task. It fosters stronger relationship, if you ask me. So events such as, let's say, retreats or happy hours or themed days can enhance camaraderie among the team members, making the workplace more enjoyable. You look into typical aspects of providing opportunities for growth. Investing in employee development, let's say through training, through mentorship programs, through career advancement opportunities, can significantly enhance the company culture. Employees who feel supported in their professional growth are more likely to be engaged and committed to the organization. There is also a typical aspect of fostering the psychological safety. We had detailed discussion of psychological safety again in the initial module, so I'm not going to repeat it here. But creating an environment where employees feel safe to express their thoughts, their ideas and concerns without fear of negative consequences is essential, if you ask me, for a healthy workplace culture. So HR should promote practices that encourage open dialogue, feedback and support for mental health initiatives. There could be also initiatives with respect to empowering the leadership. Strong leadership, please note, strong leadership is crucial in shaping company culture. So organizations should typically invest in leadership development programs to equip managers with the skills needed to inspire their teams effectively. So leaders should also be held accountable, if you ask me, for upholding the company's values and fostering an inclusive atmosphere. We also see that when you are trying to decipher the strategies for enhancing the company culture, there could be also a typical attempt to increase the autonomy, encourage the autonomy. Now, allowing employees autonomy in their work actually fosters innovation and ownership over the task. So organizations can typically enhance this by providing flexible work arrangements typically, and also allowing employees to prioritize their workload and encouraging creative problem solving. You also see that there is a regularly assessment culture which actually ensures the effectiveness of all the cultural initiatives. So organizations should regularly assess their workplace culture through feedback initiatives or feedback sessions or surveys for that matter. So this, if you ask me, typically helps identify areas for improvement and ensures the alignment with the strategic goals. Now let's look into the critical aspect of today's discussion, how you measure the company culture. As I've already detailed on a factor, that something which you cannot measure. Now let's look into one of the most key significant discussions that's going to happen with respect to today's lecture, which is measuring company culture. So I've already mentioned to you that something which we cannot measure, typically we cannot improve, and that is specific with respect to anything. That's why even we have included smart goals, which is typically measurable. So something which cannot be measured typically cannot be improved. So on that aspect, once we have understood what company culture is, what are the significant contributors towards company culture, how different it is from the national culture, what all significantly enhances company culture, what are the different strategies that could enhance company culture, having understood all these factors, now it's time to measure the company culture. Let's look into that. Looking into the measurement aspect, it involves various metrics, tools, feedback mechanisms, scales, etc. So the first one would be to utilize the survey. So a word about measurement. Measuring company culture is essential for understanding its impact on employee engagement, employee productivity, and overall organizational effectiveness, as I already mentioned. So a robust approach to assessing culture would involve all the different aspects like metrics, tools, feedback, which I've already mentioned. So this will give an insight into how well the organization's value align with the employee experience. So measuring company culture should not be considered as a one-time effort, but an ongoing process that requires commitment from all levels of the organization. Let's start with utilizing surveys. There are different types of surveys. There are employee engagement surveys. Sometimes these surveys assess overall employee satisfaction, commitment, and alignment with the company's mission, company's values, etc. They often include questions about job satisfaction, about workplace relationships, or even sometimes perceptions of leadership. So employee engagement could be one factor. There could be some pulse surveys. What do you mean by pulse surveys? Short, frequent surveys that gauge employee sentiment on specific topics or recent changes that can provide timely insights into the workforce mood and engagement levels. There could be some ENPS. Now, people who are familiar with HRM might know that employee net promoter score. So these metrics measure employee loyalty by asking how likely employees are to recommend the organization as a place to work. A high ENPS indicates typically a positive culture. So all these factors can typically gauge satisfaction, sentiment, and loyalty to a certain extent. Then we can assess the organizational values, conducting a value assessment. A value assessment to evaluate whether employees and leadership are living the organization's stated values. So this can include, surveys that ask employees how well they believe the organization embodies its values. They can involve performance reviews that incorporate value-based questions to assess alignment in behavior. Can also have some analyze cross-functional metrics. What do you mean by that? Some key performance indicators, KPIs, like let's say absenteeism, can indicate to a certain extent dissatisfaction or burnout. Or let's say some KPIs like turnover. Turnover rates can actually, throw light into recruitment and retention metrics typically, and how culture actually issues, or how cultural issues are affecting the employee longevity, or sometimes productivity metrics. Assessing productivity alongside employee satisfaction can reveal the correlations between culture and performance to a certain extent. We can also gather typical employee feedback with respect to some of the focus groups. We can conduct discussions with diverse groups of employees to gather qualitative insights on cultural strengths and weakness. We can also have some typical anonymous feedback tools, platforms like Thought Exchange, that allow employees to share typically their opinion without fear or any particular fear psychosis or fear of repercussions, providing honest feedback on cultural issues. There could be also some monitoring with respect to external indicators. How? Like something like Glassdoor ratings, employee review on platforms like Glassdoor that can highlight public perceptions of the workplace. So many a time you visit Glassdoor, you'll see that there are specific metrics, there are specific scores that are given for each organization, and this is based on the perception of the workplace culture. There could be some industry, awards and recognitions, awards for workplace excellence that can indicate a strong organization culture for that case. Or you can use cultural assessment tools. Leverage established tools designed to measure organizational culture. Typically, we have the OCAI, Organizational Culture Assessment Instrument. So, this tool typically helps organizations understand their current and desired cultures based on competing values framework, identifying the areas for improvement. We also have the Organizational Culture Inventory, OCI. So this inventory assesses behavioral norms within the organization, helping identify the strengths and areas for development. When we measure the company culture, we also have certain audit mechanisms, conduct regular audits like that, set a cadence for assessing culture. It could be annually or biannually to ensure ongoing alignment with the organization goals. Or we can also use a combination of qualitative and quantitative methods to provide a comprehensive view of the cultural health. And finally, we can align leadership with the cultural goals. When you look into leadership, it plays a crucial role in shaping company culture. So, assessing leaders' behavior against cultural expectations can help ensure alignment. So, evaluate how well leaders model company values through their actions. Provide leadership training focused on fostering an inclusive and positive workplace environment. Now let's typically move to some of the culture assessment tools, and let's bring in the elephant in the room, which is how AI is helping in enhancing the culture as part of these discussions which we had now. Cultural assessment tools, there are different typical tools that takes the use of AI. Test Gorilla is an HR platform that is aimed at streamlining the hiring process by offering pre-employment tests for potential candidates. So these typical tests help the businesses across assess whether applicants are a good cultural fit for the organization, with some companies even using the test as a replacement for the traditional CVs. So it has got that impact. So Test Gorilla equips employers with tools to efficiently screen candidates, enabling faster, more informed hiring decisions. So their expanding test library includes, assessment for cognitive abilities, for programming, for software skills, personality, cultural fit, or even language proficiency and role-specific skills. So let's look into the pros and cons quickly. There is no doubt that it accelerates the recruitment process. It offers a professional way to assess candidate skills and the features or the aspects to do the work more accurately. Or it features an easy to use professional user interface, provides unbiased testing methods. So all these are typical pros with respect to the Test Gorilla. But that said, there are certain cons as well, limited options for customizing the assessment delivery. Majority of available tests are focused on coding and tech related skills. So again, that could be not significant or related to most of the workers. Sometimes pricing can be high compared to other alternatives. Users may incur additional fees also without clear notifications. Some feedback suggests it is most beneficial for IT focused companies. So there are certain typical pros and cons associated when we use the test gorilla. Similarly, we have the My Culture. You know, My Culture is a culture assessment tool developed by Happily.ai, an employee experience platform that leverages analytics and people science to drive the organizational transformation. So, Happily launched My Culture to offer companies science based assessments customized to align with the unique culture and values. So these assessments are designed to help hiring managers evaluate new hires for cultural fit and identify the potential misalignments between candidates and the organizations that typically could affect their success. So the free culture assessment tool shows or allows businesses to make informed hiring decisions, ensuring that the new team members align well with the company's culture. So similar to the previous case of Test Gorilla, let's quickly look into the pros and cons of My Culture quickly. When you're looking into the pros, it focuses on culture as a key factor in evaluating employee fit through science-backed assessments, which we have already seen. It offers a free version with a pay-as-you-go model, making it accessible for companies of all sizes typically. And please note, it is easy to set up with a user-friendly interface that takes under 20 minutes to run. Customizable surveys and detailed reporting is available, and it actually provides actionable insights and data-driven recommendations, which would be the greatest benefit of the My Culture. When you look into the cons, a relatively new entrant to the market, so it will have all the possible problems with respect to that. There are limited testing options available, if you ask me. So with only culture fit test available at present, it is, or the usage of that is limited. Again, additional tests are to be planned. Again, if you are looking into the cons, there are limited integration with other software platforms, which again makes it quite unusable at times. Similar to My Culture, other tool would be HiPeople. HiPeople is another culture assessment tool designed to keep hiring processes data driven, timely, and effective, if you ask me. So, HiPeople helps teams enhance hiring quality by offering detailed talent insights into the candidates. So their assessments provide information that allows companies to predict who to hire, understand how candidates work, and typically build a foundation for a long-term success. So with a focus on assessments, reference checks, and improving candidate experience and hiring quality, HiPeople enables teams to make faster and more informed hiring decisions. What are the pros? It's all about easy setup and management of employee profiles. Customizable reporting and analytics happens to be another important, significant benefit of this. There could be intuitive and user-friendly interface. It promotes collaboration and teamwork with shared workflows, which integrates with various third-party tools. But that said, it has limited customization for certain features at least. And when you're looking into the mobile app functionality is typically restricted for HiPeople. The scalability may be limited for larger organizations, as you see, and limited integration with some HR and payroll systems again acts as a lacuna, acts as a problem for HiPeople. And still, please note, it is a relatively new software, so not as widely tested or established as other HR solutions. Now, let's very quickly go through at least a demo of one particular, platform. We'll test the Test Gorilla. How we can see. So, what is practically possible through this platform? Again, a real-time hands-on experience I cannot give you, but I've tried to bring up the screenshots and give you a realistic understanding how the Test Gorilla actually looks and works. So open Test Gorilla, go to my assessments and name your assessment. To get recommendations for the test, you can enter the typical job role. So that could be one simple aspect what you have to do. When you have done this, typically you will see that there are certain aspects with respect to various tests that will be displayed, from which you can select few to prepare your assessment. You can even select the test type, let's say, like which one you want, cognitive, or let's say, is it language based, or is it personal or personality driven. So all these aspects are with respect to whether it is skill driven, all these aspects can be taken up from these particular options that is available to you. Once you have done that, then you can actually personalize your assessments by customizing the questions. You can use multiple choice, or let's say true or false, or sometimes video responses. So what all are the available options with respect to that? You can maybe develop it outside and you can upload it. You can code for yourself. So all these typical possibilities are there. If you, for example, click on video, select the maximum length of video and your question, and based on that you can give the input, and you can give the input with respect to the question. You can give the length of the video, how much it should be, and you will also see that, let's say, why do you want to work as our technical project manager, a question like that, hypothetically. So that could give you the configuration, or how you actually establish the video question specifically. Then you have a possibility of reviewing and configuring. Click on finish and you can find advanced options, like let's say qualifying questions, or sometimes there can be possibilities of welcome a video also available. You will also see that there are possibilities when you review and configure. You can see that typical candidates, how they take the particular test and how the candidate has finished the test. So it instantly shows the typical average test scores and ranks them. So typically you can see that how each of them have performed in the organization with respect to the score, with respect to the rating, the status, and where they are in terms of the stage. So all these typical possibilities are there. So once the candidate finishes, as I mentioned, it instantly shows all these particular metrics. And there are also anti-cheating systems, if you ask me, which monitors the candidate while giving the test. So this is a foolproof mechanism, at least for now. We see that there are certain clear control mechanisms with respect to creating the environment and making them take the test, or taking the feedback mechanism in a very objective way. There are also, if you ask me, typical ways of testing, like how can the test be done, or let's say what all are the different analysis with respect to the scoring patterns. And there can also be anti-cheating monitors that are available. So you can add as many as user that is also required. For example, you might have a hiring manager or a recruiter or an admin role, or things like that. So you can add as many users as you want typically. And you'll also see that once you add the users, you can also enhance the requirement with respect to the files that are given, or that are given as an input. So typically I wanted to give you an understanding of how a platform like Test Gorilla works. Again, as I mentioned, we have certain limitations with respect to the lack of a real-time hands-on experience. But again, I'll insist that you go and explore these typical platforms which we have discussed. There are some free versions also. There are basically the paid versions. So when you are looking into these platforms, this ensures or gives certain level of objectivity to enhancing the company culture. We get to understand the people who are working with us in a closer way. So this is what typically company culture is all about. The people surrounding us, are they facilitating your growth? This, if you remember, this is the discussion which we started our entire lecture. So are the people surrounding us actually, enhancing the growth, or are they a barrier, or are they detrimental to the growth or of your career or the development of you within the organization? So such platforms, typically the AI involved platforms, they can actually make the things more objective, make the things more lucid and understandable to a greater extent. So we'll look into the part 2 of this, where we'll be typically focusing on some of the other tools as well with respect to company culture. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.